Welcome to Intuition Unleashed, a revolution in personal liberation. The go-to podcast that helps you access intuitive guidance combined with mental health and spirituality. Let your intuition guide you and unlock a life of true liberation. And now your host, Beck Nelson.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Intuition Unleashed. It's a revolution in personal liberation. And I am your host, Beck Nelson. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, but also trained in the energetic arts. And I am here with my very special guest, Cindy Van Arnam. Am I pronouncing that last name correctly?
Yeah, pretty close. Cindy Van Arnam.
Van Arnam. Okay. So let me tell you, this is a really cool episode because a lot of times we bring on, like, our show is obviously woo-woo, right? We're part woo-woo because we talk about spirituality, but honestly, we talk about spirituality in the way that it intersects with mental health, because so many podcasts that I watch are just so, again, woo. I just keep using the word woo-woo, right? It's like they're all flowery, and okay, we walk away from it and people are like, okay, that's a great story, but how is that really going to apply to me? Right. So one of the reasons that I asked Cindy to come on is Cindy is a master numerologist. She's also an energy strategist. Last week I had to say thermology. She helps women lead life with precision, power, and unshakable self-trust. She's trained in the original Book of Life numerology system, which I want to hear all about. And she translates your unique energetic blueprint into aligned strategy, timing, and action. So she's known for tutoring identity level clarity into real world results. Just what we need, helping leaders step into their authority and impact what they were born for. And I love the idea of numerology, and you're going to help us unpack this because numbers are so they're just on. There's no woo-woo about them. They're very math. Concrete. Yes, they're math. And that's absolutely true. So why didn't I go into accounting? Because I want to know that 1 + 1 always equals 2. And sometimes in the woo, it's like, well, it could be 7. It could be, depends on your interpretation. No, this is not interpretation. I mean, it is, right? And you'll tell us about that, but it's very concrete. And you're going to show us some ways today that people can walk away from this with some clarity and an actual tool that you're going to share with everyone. Welcome, Cindy. I'm so excited to have you here.
I am so excited to be here. Oh my gosh, this is going to be such a fun conversation. I heard a rumor I'm doing a live reading on the fly with you also.
Man, that's not a rumor. That is like true. Okay, hold on. Wait. I don't think that this is an accident that your scene back there is very Alice in Wonderland. Black and red and white, right? Mm-hmm. Is this like a purposeful thing? Because these are your colors.
These are my colors. Yeah. My fiance bought this beautiful screen behind me because I wanted it. And yeah, all of my brand colors have always been red. Red is by far my favorite color of all time. Most of my house has an accent wall with red on it. It's just how I roll.
I mean, even your cats. There's one kitty behind you, and I know there's another one hanging out somewhere.
He's up there. Yeah.
Oh, I love those black kitties. So this is my signature question, and I know a bit about your story. So I suspect I know what you're going to talk about, but we always open up with, at some point, the universe kind of hands you an unexpected opportunity for growth, but at the time, it doesn't really feel like a gift. But after some time, and you've had some time to process it and you learn from it, you figure out that it became part of your purpose and your power, really. So do you have a story like that? And can you share some of that with us?
Which story do I pick? Yes, I have a story. So actually, I was 16 years old when my dad passed away suddenly, and he was one of the healthiest men that we knew. He did karate twice a week. He was a second-degree black belt. He was always out in nature. He loved being out in the bush. He used to take us snowshoeing. Ugh, ask me how much I liked that when I was 13 years old. Um, But he worked on a farm, and if you know anything about farmers, they work their behinds off, but don't really get a lot in return for it. It's kind of a thankless career choice. And I watched my dad literally, he was trying to provide for his family. And I literally watched him work himself to the bone. And even though he ate farm to table, we ate all organic. My mom used to grind her own wheat and make bread. He passed away just suddenly, just dropped dead. And I was 16 years old. I was there when it happened. I had no support system. My mom was obviously devastated and had no way of supporting me. And back then, I'm dating myself, but late 90s, there wasn't a lot of coaching or any kind of emotional support. They tried to send me to counseling, but I'm a rebel and I just fought back. I fought back harsh. And that led to a series of, you name the bad decision, Cindy made it, including 3 years of extreme cocaine addiction, abusive relationships, mental, emotional, and physical, and eventually spiritual as well. I've been through the ringer. And when I look back now, after doing the work, of course, it all happened on purpose. And I am very grateful for all of it.
Oof, I heard cocaine abuse in there.
Yes.
You said for 3 years?
Yes, I was going for a week without food, without sleep. If anybody knows what an amount is, I was doing an 8-ball a day for 3 years straight. It was a lot.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yikes. Now, when you mentioned, you said a term that made me think that you didn't. I know right now you're in Canada, and there's kind of,
Yes.
that's part of your story as well. I know
Mhm.
personally, so I want you to share that. Where did you actually grow up?
I grew up in Alberta, Canada. It's a province kind of just on the west side of Canada, sort of, on a tiny little farm, 20 minutes out of a town that had a population of 250 people.
Oof.
Yeah.
And you were there when your dad died. Wow. Oh.
Yes.
And you have a story, where you live now is outside of where you actually grew up, and that was part of
Yes.
your journey as well. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, when I was 19 or so, my mom moved to BC because we had family. So BC is West Coast Canada. And my mom, we always had family out here, and mom needed her support system, and her sister lived here. So she moved, and I was trying to stay, but my mom was literally like the only person that I cared about. And so I followed her out and literally just packed up my truck in the middle of the night and drove across the border and said, see ya, I'm leaving. And that was where the cocaine addiction started happening, was when I moved to BC. I fell in with the wrong crowd. And from there, I actually, when I decided it was time to get clean, forget traditional rehab, I bought a ticket to a country that has the death penalty if you do drugs, and hopped on a plane, 23 years old, and 22, 23, and disappeared for 2 years. I moved to Jakarta, Indonesia for a year, taught English as a second language, and then I lived in Dubai for a year after that because I didn't want to come home.
Wow. And you purposely did this to force yourself into a place where, like, a tough love thing for yourself.
It was, yeah. And I mean, I was clean when I got on the plane. I had some support from a friend who literally put me on this couch, took my car keys and my phone away, rolled up 15 joints, gave me a pot of soup, and said, stop doing drugs. Marijuana saved my life. I won't lie, because it boosted my appetite so that I would eat. And then it made me sleep. And that was all I needed, was to eat and sleep at that time. I was 100 pounds less than I weigh today. I wasn't actively trying to kill myself, but I wasn't doing a good job of staying alive either. And yeah, as after I came out of that 3 weeks on his couch, I realized if he just gave me my keys and my phone back, I would just go right back to it. And I knew I needed to do something, but rehab, never in a million years. It would have not worked for me. I know that to this day. I don't follow rules. So good luck.
Well, that's how we found each other, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, the rule breakers, me with my book, Cut the Shit. And then well, we can't say, well, I can see your signature word is
Yes.
back there, which we can't say on the air, but
It can be seen, right?
oh
There
yeah,
we go.
there
There we
it
go.
is. There it is. And we're not talking about boss witch. We're talking about the word above that.
That's right.
So, okay, so tell me how, like, where does the numerology actually come into this?
So when I came back from overseas, at that point, I was like, there's got to be more to life than what I'm doing with it. And so I started studying and I dove into everything. You name it. I've read the Bible front to back. I read the Quran front to back. I was seeking answers and nothing. I was like, no, that's not it. Nope, that can't be it. I started studying T. Harv Eker, Brendon Bouchard, the personal development. I looked everywhere. I must have spent over $250,000 trying to figure out why are we here? What are we doing? And I'd finally returned to school as a mature student. I was about 35 or so. I went back to school for event and promotions management because I was like, I don't know, let's try this. At this point, I'd never held a job for more than a year. I just kept jumping from one thing to the next, fighting with bosses. I can do it better than you, and don't tell me what to do. It was kind of my attitude. So halfway through college, I realized, yeah, I don't, this sucks too. I'm not doing this either. But I've paid for this college education. What can I do to activate it for myself and actually put it to use? So halfway through school, I realized I have $250,000 education from some of the greatest internet gurus on the planet. Why not do something about that? So I decided to start a business as a virtual assistant. So I was behind the scenes doing all the tech, building the websites, sales funnels, you name it, I was doing it. And part of my curriculum for event and promotions management was to go volunteer at certain events. And I went to this event, 150 women of my ideal client in the room. I walked out of that room with 8 clients for my VA business. It was awesome. But one of the women in that room was talking about numbers. And at this point, I'm like, oh, not another woo woo. I'm
Yep.
not interested. I'm like, nothing that you've shared, Reiki, astrology, all that stuff, none of it works. It's fine, it's cool information, but okay, what do I do with cool information? Right. So I was like, I just brushed her off. I was like, nah. But she at that time was doing a daily Facebook Live and she was doing a little energy forecast for the day. It was like 5 or 10 minutes tops. So I just started watching it. I was like, let's check this out. Let's see. And all of a sudden, something was like, wait a second. This makes sense. And she'd talk about how the day would turn out energetically. And all day long, I'd be like, what the? Why is she right? And I started getting angry about it because I was like, why is she right all the time? That can't be right. That can't be right. So I reached out to her and I said, look, I need to know more about this because I don't understand. And she explained it to me in a way that just really hit home. The universe is literally a mathematical equation. So what makes you think numbers don't have something to say to us? And all of a sudden I was like, ooh, ding, ding, ding. I just got goosebumps when I said that.
Me
That's
too. Me too.
one of those mic drop moments.
Yes.
So at that point I was like, I'm all in. Tell me everything that you know about numerology. Unfortunately, there was some spiritual abuse in there, but I learned a lot of things about numbers too. So
Oh, you got stories. We'll find out at the end. You're going to have more time to tell about these stories.
that's why we
Anyway,
have to do more than one episode.
dude, we got to stay on track. It goes by so fast. So, numerology, yes, and what you're saying makes perfect sense because the same thing for me. Like if I hear Reiki, I'm like, ooh, Reiki, and we just don't even touch somebody and energetically. Blah, blah, blah. No, numbers make sense. They're very concrete. So tell us what numerology is, what it isn't, patterns. I didn't. Blah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rabbit hole. So the basics of it is that numerology shows us the mathematical equation of anything that we're looking to understand. So ourselves, our business, partnerships, relationships, anything that you want to understand more, you can find that information through the mathematical code, and it's based off of your date of birth. I work with two different systems of numerology. One of them is the traditional system of numerology, which was developed by Pythagoras. A squared plus B squared equals C squared, the OG numerologist. He started recognizing that there were energetic patterns, and he created an energy grid, which is the 9 numbers that we experience as humanity. And he talked about that and how it relates to our personality. So that's one system. The other system that I use is called Book of Life. I'm one of only 2,000 practitioners in the world who do what I do. It is a very specialized numerology, and it has been hidden in secret libraries for thousands and thousands of years because nobody wants us to know that it exists. It is referenced in the Bible, in the book of Revelations. I went and looked it up. And it is based off a deck of playing cards. The deck of playing cards has been hidden and disguised as a game to pretend that what the answers to life don't exist within it.
Ooh, this is like the Da Vinci Code kind of stuff.
A little bit.
Yeah. So how did this, here's this woman, you, who doesn't follow the rules, and then like, no, just because you say that's the truth doesn't mean it's the truth. But then there's these numbers that are like plain as day that literally add up. So they were giving your life some structure where maybe you hadn't had some structure before this.
A little bit. And the numbers don't always play by the rules either. So I think this was the fun part. So right. I remember when I first started learning, I was trying to memorize it. And I'd be like, okay, this is what the 2 means. This is what the 3 means. And she was like, no, you got to stop doing that. Because anybody can Google information. Well, chat GPT it these days, right? But people aren't looking for information. We're looking for wisdom and embodiment. The numbers are frequencies. And those frequencies speak to us based off of our perceptions, how we experience life, our beliefs, what we're feeling that day. So there is no defined, solid, this is what this number means. It's a frequency that we can experience.
What?
Yeah, it's an intuitive science. That's what I describe it as.
Okay, so say more about that, because now it's not as concrete as I thought.
Okay, so let's say, for example, we've got somebody who carries a life path number 4, and they've had certain life experiences and, different traumas, different things have happened through them. So they have certain beliefs and certain ways of seeing the world. And then somebody else who's a different life path number comes along, and they've had completely different experience, different ways of seeing the world. This is the beauty of being human, is that we all perceive things differently. How I interpret a number is going to be completely different than how another person interprets a number, based off of perception, belief, how I'm feeling that day, all of those pieces. And so anybody who's saying this is how it is lying, because they're only filtering that message through their own understanding. So yes, the numbers have certain energies about them. There are certain things that numbers can do for us. We can leverage that. There is structure to it. And yet the numbers, just like everything else in the universe, evolving, growing, changing all the time. The only constant is change. So it's not possible for numbers to be, this is what it means.
Okay. And yet you have a little free gift to help us interpret our own numbers, which we'll get to. So how do the numbers really reveal the truth about who we are? And then why do people misunderstand numerology in general?
Yeah. So ultimately, when we're looking at the Pythagorean system of numerology, it reveals to you your personality, similar to what you would look at your sun sign in astrology, your ascending, all of those things. It's very similar to that. It's like this accurate pinpoint of where you are on the giant map of the universe mathematically. And it says, these are likely some of the personality traits that you have. This is likely how you experience life. This is how you perceive things. That's one side of it. The other side, the Book of Life numerology, cracks you open to what's possible for your life path. So there are no rules in that system, probably why I like it the most. is because you get to experience things in ways that are based off of how you choose to move. It brings free will into the game.
Okay, so these are things that could be in your energy field if you chose to, but we have free will.
Absolutely. Everybody has free will. Prime example, when I first got my numerology reading, they said, you should be a speaker. The numbers on my chart, literally public speaker. At that time, oh, no. I was the shyest, quietest, most impossible person. I had never done a video. I had never done anything like this. Podcasting? No way. I work behind the scenes. Thank you very much. I'm the support person. And then I saw my chart and I went, huh. So what if I was a speaker? And now at this point, I've done over 200 podcast episodes. I had my own podcast for 6 years with weekly episodes. You put a microphone in front of my face, I'm going to say something.
No. So it tells you what's possible and you decide if you're going to step into it or not.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, I think, is one of the things that people misunderstand about numerology is, like, people will say, what am I supposed to be doing?
Oh,
you're not supposed to be doing anything. These are the things that you're inclined to be able to do because of your numerology reading.
Yes. One of my biggest things that I say all the time, I see this happen so much, it drives me crazy. You are not at the whim of your chart, ever. You're not at the whim of what the moon is doing or what the stars have to say today. You are not at the whim of any of it because you are a human being with free will. You are in the driver's seat of your own life and you get to decide. The numerology just shows you, hey, what if you want to come this way?
Meaning that if you decided that you wanted to try public speaking, for you as an example, that you probably would do well in it.
Yeah, exactly.
So then that sort of allowed you to see your potential.
Yes.
And then you decided to step into it.
Exactly. Exactly. And also, if I wasn't coded to be a speaker, I might have tried it. I might have liked it. I might have really done well with it. There's no reason why not, because anybody can do whatever they want when they put their mind to it. But there was probably a piece of my soul that would have been like, this just feels a little off. And then I might not have done it for a long time. I might have done it for a little bit, had some success, and then been like, eh. But instead, I'm on 480 million TVs.
Oh, wow. Okay. You talk about numerology and the return on investment of life. Say a little bit more about that. We are going to be in break in like 5 minutes, but I want to hear a bit more about that.
You know, this comes from my dad passing away, is that I want to be somebody who's very proud of my experience when I slide into my deathbed. I want to look back on my life with no regrets. And for me, numerology shows me the pathway to that. Not just a return on investment for business. I used to do numerology for business specifically, and I've currently pivoted to that, to your whole life experience, because it's not just about financial return or, you know, serving clients or anything like that. That's important. But who are you as you're building that business? Because other pieces like your health, your relationships, everything about your life is so important that and so many people tend to put so much emphasis on the business that they forget or end up sacrificing parts of their lives in order to build the business, and then look back and go, well, I made all that money, but my family hates me.
Right. But also it helps you to see what you're inclined to do, and then you can put your energy in something that you choose to, and does this fit for you?
Absolutely.
So not only you're not just wasting, at that point you're wasting. I mean, if I think about all the programs that I put my money into, because you were just talking about that, and then I come out of it and then I'm like, eh. And then I had to see this look on my husband's face, who's very supportive, but he's like, okay, so what are you going to do with it? And I'm just like, eh.
Yes.
Nice. Oh my gosh. I take something from it, but
Yeah, and that depends on your date of birth too, because there are some people out there who are meant to just go and gather little bits and pieces from everywhere. There's a certain number that loves to do that. I call them a hummingbird. So I'm not quite sure. We don't have your date of birth yet, so I'm not actually doing this reading. But there are certain people that are meant to just go gather here, there, and everywhere. There are other people who have one track mind. This is what I'm going to do. And again, this is what we explore when we look at your numbers. Instead of thinking I should be behaving this particular way because everybody else is doing it that way, or play by your own rules.
Who does that?
This girl.
But the numerology helped you to hone in on that so that you weren't kind of wasting your time and money anymore.
100%. 100%.
And when you tuned into that, that's when things really opened up for you.
Yes, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, I am very much invested in my own growth and mentorship, but I've put myself in the containers where I know are the right fit for me. And so there's no more wasting of money. There's no more wasting time or energy or anything being in the wrong rooms, because I spent 7 years in the wrong room.
And numerology helps you to do this, to tune in on that.
Yes.
Where do you find that people fight their natural blueprint the most?
Usually programming. I was raised to believe this, and so therefore it's a story that people tell themselves, right? And I felt that same way for years. So if I work harder, I'll make more money. Hello, farm girl, right?
Yeah.
And understanding my code and understanding where that came from was so pivotal in shifting my experience.
Okay. So so who needs to have a practical application of this? We're going to go on break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the 1 through 9 numbers, the energies of the universe, which you're going to talk more about. And then I'm going to do a live online reading, which I'm Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the second half of my episode with Cindy, who was talking to us about numerology, breaking some codes, helping us invest in ourselves by using our numbers. So we are the numbers 1 through 9, Cindy, are very important. We can talk about the 1 to 9 archetypes. So we're a little teaser. You're going to be coming back on January 15th in the new year. We're going to talk way more about these and how they apply to all of us and the year in particular. But just give us a little bit of an overview on the numbers 1 through 9.
Absolutely. The easiest way to explain this is kind of from a collective big picture vision versus personal. 2025 has carried the energy of the 9. It has been the completion of a 9-year cycle. Before I get in, there are only 9 numbers in existence, plus the 0. The 0 is a supporting character. The 0 is very, very, very important. The 0 is not nothing, because nothing doesn't exist. But the 1 through 9 are really the only numbers that exist. Anything else is a combination of those numbers. And so 2025, this 9 energy has been the end of that 9-year cycle. This culmination energy of everything we decided way back in 2017. How we've been operating since 2017, the experiences we've gone through. And I don't know if you noticed, but 2025 was a little messy. There was a lot of stuff. And most people that I talked to they were leaving relationships, they were walking away from jobs, walking away from certain communities, walking away from things they've done for so long, because the 9 is about completion. But one thing that often gets tripped up, especially if you do a Google search, is that the 9 is actually an opportunity to expand your capacity for what's next, for more. So my best example of this is if you are cleaning out your clothes closet, you toss everything on the floor, and then you intentionally decide what to put back in, hopefully. But in order to clean out your closet, you make a big giant mess. There is stuff everywhere. That is the 9. But what you're doing is letting go of certain items, and maybe those skinny jeans that you haven't put on for 15 years because you're finally ready to let them go. And now you're stepping into the 1, which is 2026. 2026 is a clean slate. brand new fresh start, except the 9, you're carrying the wisdom of the last 9-year cycle with you. So it's not like you're just like, I'm a baby and I'm starting over. You're stepping into this with wisdom and the embodiment of who you became in the last 9 years. So 2026, which we'll talk about on the 15th, is about a fresh start, a new beginning, and being very, very intentional about what you're putting back in the closet. Very important. We're not sticking the skinny jeans back in. We're giving them up. And then as we move forward, we move into 2027 and beyond. That 2 energy is a little bit of polarity. If you remember, November 2025 was a little tricky, right? There was some duality there. And so that 2 energy shows us, in order to create anything, we have to have friction. We have to have heat. We need energy to create. And so it creates that energy so that we can get into the creation phase. The 2 is also very much about connection, collaboration, partnership, meeting new people, putting yourself out there in new ways, which then moves us into the 3, which is an amplifier and a creative engine. 3 is December's energy, 2025. It is fun, it's playful, it wants to party, it wants to have a great time, and it is creation. So the creation process is messy. If you've ever created anything, you know you create a mess first. The 4 energy is now this energy of groundedness, of like, okay, we've partied and we've done all this stuff and we've created and networked and we've decided what we're going to do. And now the 4 says, all right, let's get down to business. Let's do it. Let's go. So it's a bit of commitment energy. It's very grounded and structured, and it wants to have a plan in place. Let's put the plan in place and let's go. The 5 is that number that I said kind of goes around and gathers all the nectar, because the 5 is the number of choice point of, okay, you had all this fun and you created this idea and you've decided, you've committed that it's going to happen, but now maybe your neighbor said it was a bad idea, or Uncle Bob at Christmas dinner said that's never going to work. And so the 5 says you decide. Free will, right? It's that free will number that says, are you going to do it or not? You decide. Which then takes us to the 6, which again is another creative engine. It is very much a mental number. And so at this point with the 6, we are looking at the feedback we're getting from the choices we made. So you followed through on the project. You decided, I don't care what Uncle Bob says, we're doing this anyway. And now you've put it out into the world and people are coming to you and saying, oh my God, yes, I love it. I love it. Let's more, please. Or they're saying, I don't really get it, right? Whatever feedback you get from the 6, you then get to decide, what do I want to do with that moving forward? Do I want to go back to the drawing board, or is it time to put this out in a bigger way? Then we move to the 7. The 7 is innovative, moves quickly, making decisions, go. And it's a number of go and figure it out later. It's a trust number. So it's literally that, like, free fall. I've made the decision. I've got the feedback. Let's do it. It's that moment where you're like, I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I'm going to trust that it is because we're here. And then the 8 carries momentum. Now you've been putting it out there, you've been doing the thing, and the 8 is like speeding things up. It's fast, it's moving quickly, and things are building momentum. So if you think back to 2024, we experienced that 8 energy in 2024. Things were like bubbling under the surface. It felt like a pressure cooker, right? Which then takes us back into the 9, where there's a bit of a mess again to clean up after the next cycle.
So let me just blow everybody's minds here, because, what does this mean? How do we apply this? The way that you figure out the cycle of this year is that you add up the numbers for 2025, 2, 2, 5, 9. It's a 9 year.
Yeah.
Then 2, 2, 6 is 1 and 0, 10, right? And that boils down to 1.
Correct.
And these numbers keep going. Every year has an energy to it from 1 to 9. Let's blow your mind a little bit further, because I learned this from you a couple of months ago. You can also do this with each month.
each month and each day
Whew.
as well. Yeah.
All right. Now you can talk a little bit about how you can use this for personal growth and find your ruling number. And I, over the break, gave Cindy my birth. I won't tell you the year, but my date of birth is June 15th.
Yeah. Yes. So do you want me to do a reading for you now?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes.
So to be fair, I legit just got your date of birth. So I am just looking at your chart and intuitively trusting this. I have not looked anything up. I'm not doing anything of the sort. So based off your date of birth, what we do is we split up all the numbers and then add them up, just like you did with the year. And we add them all up, reduce them down to a number between 2 and 11. There's reasons for that. I don't have time on this show to get into that, but that's what we do. So you are a ruling number 11. So that is basically a 2 amplified. And the 11 is always about seeing both sides of the story, really being able to mediate conversation very well. Often black and white thinking, it's this way or that way. I don't really see any gray area in between. The 11s can show up as judges in professions often, or people who, are the ones who mediators, things like that. And the 11s are also very much on the spiritual realm. So of course you're doing a spiritual show, but black and white thinking, it needs to make sense, right? It needs to be practical.
Practical. Mm-hmm.
Okay. When I'm looking at the energy grid itself in your chart, you have what's called the arrow of determination. This means you're determined. You will get the job done no matter what, even if it's to the detriment of your own well-being. So this can be a good thing, but it also can be challenging, right? And we often see this in people who were born at earlier years. I'm not going to say the date, but we see this happen, and like my father would have had it, my mom has it, and it's that mentality of it's a hustle culture. Like we work, and then we get paid. It's that kind of energy. Whereas nowadays we're seeing certain numbers not showing up in the charts, and then we wonder why our new generations seem lazy. It's not because of that. It's simply they don't have those numbers in their chart, and they're looking for something completely different, a totally different experience. So this arrow of determination has served you to get the job done, to do the thing. It's probably also not served you in certain ways of determined to hold on to a story or a belief or people or experiences. Okay, and then finally, I'm going to keep this super succinct and short. When we look at the Book of Life numerology, you carry the birth card, just like your sun sign, of the 2 of diamonds. So you're the 2 of diamonds in the deck of playing cards. That 2 energy ties into your 11, right? Like I said, the 11 boils down to a 2. So highly, highly intuitive, very connected. You love to connect with other people. Hello, podcast, right?
Yep. That's me. Yep.
And then the diamonds, when we're looking at the different suits in the deck of cards, the diamonds represent the material experience. So they represent money, your physical body, your environment, whatever you experience in your physical environment. A hello practicality, right? I want this to be for my audience, but I want them to take something tangible. There needs to be some sort of exchange of value here. That's the 2 of diamonds.
Wow.
How'd I do?
That's me. And so you can take that information and then make certain extrapolations as far as, hey, you should run a podcast. Hey, yes. And that's funny because I also do divorce mediation on top of things.
See, you can't make this up.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So obviously I legit just that was so surface level, but it gives you an idea of what's possible when we look at your chart.
And when we're also, I love the practical advice because I've also heard you talk about when you're trying to have your own business, when it's good to actually put out certain products and what to put out based on your ideal clients, right? Based on your numbers. Yep. And also based on the energy of certain weeks, etc. So you give very practical advice that helps people to stop wasting their money.
Exactly.
Oof. So now let's talk a little bit about you talk about the 6 stages of transformation, the rhythm code and divine timing. And then we've got that takeaway for our guests. So talk a little bit about.
Perfect segue, because it all ties together. So within the Book of Life Numerology, we look at a system that's based off of the universal law of divine timing. I've called it the 6 stages of transformation. Like I said, most of this information is hidden in secret libraries, so we don't actually have names for things. But we do have a certain understanding, because there was one guy who was allowed to go into these libraries and pull out certain information. One guy, way back in the 1800s. So we have one book that allows us to understand this system and the math behind it. The math is so complex, I can't even begin. But in this, sorry, go ahead.
Calculus, blah, sorry.
Yeah, worse, way worse than calculus. Okay, so the 6 stages of the universal law of divine timing are awareness, acceptance, self-responsibility, activation, acceleration, and transformation. The transformation stage is broken into 2 stages. So that's 7, right? So we actually have a 7-day cycle every week. We have a 7-week cycle. We have a 7-year cycle. And we also experience this cycle every time we go through our year. So your new year is actually your date of birth, not January 1st, unless you were born in January. So your new year starts in June. So don't set New Year's resolutions. It's not helpful. You're interrupting your own rhythm when you do that. But so you start in the beginning of a divine timing cycle whenever you decide you want something as well. So it's a manifestation cycle, for lack of a better term, even though I detest that term. When we're in awareness is that state of, I want something. It's a state of curiosity. Like I'll use a really simple example. Just recently, I decided that I love to cook. So I wanted Gordon Ramsay's new Hexclad pans. That's what I wanted more than anything. So I had this awareness. I really want this new pan. It looks amazing. You can't scratch it. You throw it in the dishwasher. You can bang your head against it. It's not going to break. It's amazing. You can't mess it up. So I'm just curious. I wonder how much they cost. I wonder where you can get them in Canada, right? It's that curiosity. You are aware that you want something new. Then you move into the state of acceptance. Now, this part isn't true for me, but I will give some examples so it's tangible. You go and you look up the price of it and you're like, oh, I can't afford that. That's way too much. I thought that was going to be way less than that. And you get into this feeling state of maybe some guilt or some shame. Maybe you overspent on your credit card. So all these feelings stir up in acceptance, which 99% of people will skip over because I don't want to feel my feelings. I'll just go Netflix binge instead, right? Or binge TTN, do that. But really, what happens in the acceptance stage is we're meant to feel all of those feelings and accept the decisions that we made in the past that led us to not having the thing we want, right? So say, for example, I'd racked up my credit cards and I was like, well, I can't afford that. So now I have to deal with all the shame and the guilt of racking up my credit cards. But once we've done that and we've done the work for that, there's another layer of acceptance that I could have the pans. And so again, humans, we like to focus on the negative. We like to focus on things that are going wrong. Most humans don't lean into the sense of possibility. What if I could have those pans? What if somebody gifted them to me? What if I won a Black Friday deal? What if anything, right? There's so many different opportunities here. So then that leads us to the next stage, which is self-responsibility. And self-responsibility is so easy. Most people skip over it because, again, I'd rather blame it all on the economy or the government or something else. But self-responsibility is a moment in time where you say, I'm going to have the dang pans, period. I choose to have the pans. I don't know how, that's not my job, but I choose to have those dang pans. Activation moves you into this stage where now you're taking the steps to become the person who has what they want. Now, I don't know who I had to become to get these pans, but there's little steps you need to take. Maybe you need to like hint to your fiance that you really want these pans. Maybe you drop it on a Christmas list, right? You're following those intuitive nudges and you're becoming the version of you who has what they want. And when you do enough of those things, enough times, the right things, intuitively, and this is where trust comes in, it moves you into acceleration where now you're like, my fiance's talking about those pans a lot. I keep seeing ads of these pans on Facebook like day after day after day. What is going on? And then your old pan breaks and you're like, what the? And you think that the world is falling apart, but actually the universe is restructuring itself in the physical realm for you to have the new pan. And then you move into transmutation, which, as I mentioned, is two separate pieces. One is reflection and one is looking forward. So the reflection piece, I got the pan. Oh my God. But here's what most people do. Cool, I got the pan. What's next?
Next thing, yeah.
Oh my God, I got the pan. I can't believe it. Not only did I get one pan, I got two. I got two. Celebrate, 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 because that opens up the window for more good to come in. And then you lean into what's next, which is the last stage of transmutation. And then you start thinking, what if I had the set of pots too?
So, Cindy, did you get your pans?
I got two of them, yes. And now I want the pots.
Why do you
Christmas present? My fiance gifted them to me for Christmas.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
What? Cindy doesn't like to hear no.
No, I don't.
And what you are describing is everything that we do hear about manifesting, which is that it's important to actually be in the energy of actually receiving them so that you do receive them. Why do you hate the word manifesting?
Because there's a lot of misconstrued words. There's a lot of misunderstanding around what manifestation actually is. And I actually am the firm belief that we are connected to the source of all that is. We are a part of that. If we believe in the law, universal law of one, we are connected to all that is, ever will be, which means the pans are already mine. I don't have to manifest them because they already exist as mine. And so I call it sourcing versus resourcing. I call it sourcing versus manifesting.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Right.
Yeah.
It implies that you don't already have it.
Exactly.
And you create
You're separate from it. Yeah.
I see. Okay. So can you talk about these energy cycles? Can you talk about the tool that you have as the gift for everybody, your audience today?
Yes, of course. So it's called the Rhythm Recode. And what it does is, number one, it teaches you how to calculate when your rhythm begins every week. So based on the day that you were born, I was born on a Wednesday. So my Wednesday is my awareness day. And each of these cycles, these 6-7 stages, are ruled by particular planets that help us to operate in certain ways. So as you go through it, this workbook allows you to first calculate what your rhythm is throughout the week, and then gives you very specific, tangible journal prompts and things to think about or actually go do that help you to land into your personal rhythm. It's a bit of an art, so it does take time. You're not just going to be like, I got the workbook and now I totally understand it. I've been doing this work for 9 years and it still trips me up sometimes because it's the universe and I'm just me, right? But it really does help. And I use this system to support all my clients in everything we do. And it's made such a huge difference. You know when to pause, you know when to go, and you know when to go watch Netflix.
And they can get all this and they can calculate it out in the free gift that you have. We have a link in your show notes.
Yes.
In addition to that, if people are just lazy and they're like, can't you just do it for me? Is this something you offer, this type of service as well?
Yes, absolutely. So I do have a handful of different numerology readings that people can purchase from me that are one off. But ultimately, I do believe that this is kind of an ongoing process. So I do invite people to work with me long term. But if somebody just wants like an annual forecast, they want to look at what 2026 has in store for them, that is something that I offer on my website as well, with a year ahead forecast.
So if you didn't hear it already, Cindy is going to come back on January 15th in the new year to talk about the energy of ending our 9 cycle, beginning the 1 cycle, which is everybody, but also the energy of January,
Yes.
right? Which is
Yes.
also a 1.
Nope. January is actually going to be a 2.
Oh, January. Help, I'm trying to
Because we're
remember.
adding, when we look at monthly energy, we're actually adding the year and the month together. So the
Oh, right.
year is 2026 is that 1, and January is a 1. January is actually a 2 energy.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going to be talking about the new energy and all that. So we're not crazy. All this upheaval is exactly where we're supposed to be. Politics, wars, all that is exactly where we're supposed to be. What is your suggestion for what do you want people to leave here knowing how they have this practical guide?
Yeah, really understanding what it is that you're here to do. And I abhor this statement, but it's so true. Stay in your own lane. When you find your lane, life gets so much easier, and you stop fighting against all the things that you're not meant to be focused on anyway. And so really, you can explore through human design, you can explore through astrology. There's lots of different ways you can explore what this looks like. To me, numerology has been the most accurate, most non-negotiable system that I've ever seen. And it's very hyper specific based off on you. It's not like vague generic information.
And you seem to be very accurate with everybody.
Yeah.
You've seen people accelerate there, including you.
Yes.
And
yes.
is there, where did you begin? Where should people begin if they want to, okay, you talk about this guide that you're offering. Where did you begin that you can offer to people to understand?
Yeah, for me, it was ultimately about getting a reading for myself so that I understood me, and then also tapping into the daily energy. So, like I said, you can calculate the year, the month, and every day. So I do have a membership called Daily Digits where you can hop in. I drop in the energy of the day the night before with a journal prompt, with an actual tangible activity you can do that day to maximize the ROI on life. And it helps you to capture the essence of what these numbers are doing for us.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And that's like a membership on your website?
Yeah. Yes. It's called Daily Digits.
Okay. And your website is fullblastcoaching.com.
Fullblastcoaching.com. Yeah.
And and you're going to be talking about the energy of personally, but also a general reading. This is an everyday forecast.
Yes. Yes.
Every
single
amazing.
Day.
You also sort of grazed the suits, the card suits, or card suits, and that also plays into not just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so really quick, because I know we got to end here soon. The hearts are like springtime. They're about self-actualization, relationship, connection, the emotions. The clubs are mental, very much about communication and self-expression. It's summertime, how we're talking to people. The diamonds is fall. It's that harvest. It's the material experience. It's that groundedness. It's the harvest at the end of the summer. And then the spades, if you think about a spade, you're literally digging. So it's the spiritual work that we tend to do in hibernation in the winter behind the scenes.
You said I was a 2 of diamonds.
Yeah.
So that is, wait a minute, diamonds is
the fall. Yeah. But that doesn't necessarily mean when you were born. That's a whole different calculation that I don't have time to get into today.
This is so helpful. So I love that people can get specific information from you. It sounds like it has helped to guide generally your decisions in your life, and you're experiencing some success based on all that, and picked your life path based on that.
Yes. Yes, I'm getting married. I'm a homeowner. My life has completely turned around from where it was 20 years ago.
And you've been sober for how long now?
25? I don't even know. Long time.
Wow, that's amazing. And so this gave you some strategy. And, I love that. Thank you so much for being on.
My
You were
pleasure.
it was so helpful because you actually turned something that seems very woo-woo into something very specific. Can people still be trained? You said only 2,000 people in the world are trained in this method?
Yes, there are a handful of teachers out there who still do it. So if that's something that somebody wants to learn, just connect with me and I can point you in the right direction.
And you don't train it yourself?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. And do we know who this guy is who got in to look at this book?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember his name, Ogilvy or something. I can't remember his exact name, so I don't want to quote something that I'm completely not sure
Was
of.
he like killed for his knowledge?
No, I don't think so. He was allowed in, so he was allowed to have it.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I am not getting any. Apparently, we still have some time, but we are at 6:00.
Yeah.
So when you come back on January 15th, you're going to talk more about how we can maximize what is the energy of the new year, what is sort of a general reading for the year, and then how can we have an ROI on life.
Yes.
In general, we do have the ability for people to be able to message in when they want to. Onto here, they can actually, if you look at the link for the show, you'll be able to message in and get sort of just a general, like Cindy's not going to do readings for people on the fly like you did for me, but we'll be able to get a sort of a general idea. And if people want to learn more about numerology, there are still people. Is there any of it that you teach yourself to be able to teach other people?
Some, yeah. I've started recently just starting to dabble in teaching it. It's something that I'm not fully committed to just yet, but this is why I say yet, because it's a possibility.
Oh, if it's in the numbers.
That's right.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being on, for giving us some clarity in here to something that's a little bit less woo-woo, more practical. Download Cindy's guide so that you can get your own numbers and start to get your ROI on life. Thanks everyone for joining us. Happy New Year. We'll be back in 2 weeks, and Cindy will be back in a month. So thank you for joining us, everybody, today. And remember that when you unleash your intuition, you reclaim your power. So everyone, join our revolution. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Intuition Unleashed. We hope you found it informative and thought-provoking. But before you go, we have one little challenge for you. Most of us have sneaky little habits that hold us back and trip us up, so why not take this not at all uncomfortable quiz to find out what you do to derail yourself from achieving your goals and how you can call yourself out on your own BS. So get to know your self-sabotage specialty and take the first step towards getting out of the way of your own success. Just visit https:/becknelson.com/quiz and take the quiz now. That's becknelson.com/quiz, and we can't wait to see your results. As always, we'll be back next week with more Intuition Unleashed. We appreciate you. Thanks for listening.